Thank you. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Board of Police Commissioners meeting today, May 1st, 2024. I'd like to acknowledge that Halifax Regional Municipality is located in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and traditional lands of the Mi'kmaq people. The municipality acknowledges the peace and friendship treaty signed in this territory and recognizes that we are all treaty people. So we have a special occasion today where we have the opportunity to welcome a new commissioner. Gregory, do you prefer Gregory or Greg? Greg, just don't call him late for supper. Gregory O'Malley, and Greg O'Malley, either way, is our newest appointment to the commission. So at this moment, we'll ask Marty Ward to swear in Greg and sign the oath of office over there.
Could I ask you to come over to the lectern? Thanks.
I, Gregory O'Malley of Halifax Regional Municipality, swear that I will faithfully, diligently, and impartially execute and perform the duties required of me as a member of the Halifax Regional Board of Police Commissioners. And while I continue to hold office, I will, to the best of my judgment, skill, knowledge, ability, carry out, discharge, and perform all the duties of my office faithfully, and any regulation, rule, or law, and will not accept in the discharge of my duties disclose to any person any matter or evidence brought before the Halifax Regional Municipality Board of Police Commissioners. So help me God. Greg O'Malley.
You so swear?
I do so swear.
You sign. And the second copy? Nothing ever goes with one copy. Thank you, and welcome to the Board of Police Commissioners.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Greg. And on behalf of the other commissioners, I just want to say welcome to the board and welcome to what I hope you see as a supportive and worthwhile team to get the job done that we're doing. We appreciate that you chose this as a place to park your skills and experiences. And with that, I'm going to put you on the spot. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about yourself. The public would probably like to hear it as well. And just an introduction of yourself, because you're probably going to do a better job than, although I did hear good things about you.
Well, that is putting me on the spot. I have always called myself Greg, but my mother always called me Gregory. So there you go, to this day. I'm a resident of District 10, and I've been there raising my family for the last, 35 years, I think it's been. Prior to that, my home of residence was in the old Ward 5, so District 8, I believe that is. And I come from a family of public servants who spent a lot of years working and supporting activities of the community. I myself work in the IT sector, largely in security, public safety, items like that, and have been so for the last number of years. And have traveled and worked out of province, out of Canada for quite a number of years. But over the last number of years, I largely focus here in Atlantic Canada, my activities. So I have 4 children, the youngest of which is 20, so I feel quite old now. But I think the official term now is empty nester. So that's about it.
Well, thank you very much. And we won't put you to work too hard today, but can't promise that for every day. Thank you, Marty, for taking care of that. The next item on the agenda is the presentation to former Commissioner Critchley. He is not able to make it until a little later in the agenda, so we'll sort of adjust that as that comes along. Now I'd like to ask if anyone has any community announcements, any commissioners? If you have none, I have one. I just want to acknowledge that I have a new grandbaby since the last meeting, a beautiful, beautiful baby boy, George. And yeah, that's pretty exciting for me. So that's the next thing you have to look forward to, Greg. It's just amazing. It's life-changing. So we'll move on to approval of the minutes for March 4th, 2024. Anyone want to put that forward? Moved by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Blackburn. All in favor say aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion is carried. Now we look at the approval of the order of business and approvals of additions and deletions. I'll note first off that we will be moving in camera ahead to immediately after this item. And because again, we have a scheduling conflict for one of our members that has an important role in the in-camera item. So if someone could move that.
Chair,
Yeah.
sorry, my apologies, but Commissioner Akinduju will actually have to bring forward his addition.
Yeah, okay, sorry, thank you.
Motion for addition to agenda. Thank you. Subject matter will be 2020.
A second, is this part prepared for
No.
now? It's just to add an in-camera item
Oh, okay,
to the agenda.
Okay.
And then I'll move it.
okay.
Up.
Okay, so motion to add an in-camera item to the agenda.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there a seconder?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Blackburn. And at this stage, Andrea, is it appropriate for me to suggest that it now be immediately following number 4?
You should ask one of your fellow commissioners to request that change. in
Okay,
the
so
sequence.
first we'll vote on the motion as approved or make an amendment.
We can change the sequence and then vote on the amended agenda.
Okay, thank you.
Just,
That sounds complicated. Just 1 second.
all we want to do here, right, is approve the order of business and place this as the first item of, in the order of business following the approval of the order. So all you need is
So
a more
his added item, it's a motion on the floor right now.
motion to approve the order of business right now, including his
Gotcha.
added item and being the first item
Right,
of business.
so it is that, okay.
And the vote on the amended agenda will need 2/3 approval because it's
Okay.
an addition.
So are there any other amendments? Any other changes to the agenda? Now, hearing none, we'll now move on the amended motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion's carried. Thank you. So now we will move to in camera.
No, well, okay, we'll make,
Yeah, there's
He's
a
gonna make his
public, there's a
motion.
public part of it first, and then
Okay.
we'll move in camera.
Thanks.
the first order of business then will be his motion, which he's gonna move now.
Gotcha.
Okay?
Yep.
He's gonna move his motion now as the first order.
I thought we just did that, but that's okay. Good. Yep.
Okay, go ahead.
Subject matter, 2024 CAPG Award for Excellence in Police Governance. Motion for the Board of Police Commissioner to consider that the Board of Police Commissioner of the Halifax Regional Municipality 1 waive Section 15 of the Administrative Policy 1 requiring a staff report for the chief, either the chief or policies advisor to the board, and convene to in-camera to consider nominations to the 2024 Canadian Association of Police Governance Award for Excellence in Police Governance in the following categories of excellence. A, Staff Award. B, Directors Award. And C, Partnership and Leadership Award. Reason. Thank you.
Is there a seconder?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Blackburn. Any debate on this? Any questions? Nope. Here, seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. So we met the test. The motion's carried.
Move the camera.
And now we'll move in camera. That's right. Yeah. This shouldn't take terribly long. Okay. So we move into the other room.
All right, sorry.
Can you take the time to take it off? Okay, we will now proceed with a very well-earned presentation to former Commissioner Harry Critchley. Harry's now here. Harry, if you want to come over to the podium. Harry finished his term with us, had a lot of really good ideas and brought a lot to the table. Kept us busy, and that's a good thing. And now he is a new dad. How many weeks?
11 weeks.
11 weeks. And we want to wish you well with that as well, Harry. But we want to honor the work that you did for us and thank you. And we would like to do that now. So, Chiefs, if you can come up to the podium as well.
We all sharing this thing? Getting in tight here? Oh.
So we have a plaque, but since you guys are PricewaterhouseCoopers, I'm presenting an HRP coin.
Wow. Sir.
And I'm presenting an RCMP coin.
Okay.
So obviously, the RCMP has much nicer boxes than we do. So,
That's integration.
yeah.
And we don't even need a committee anymore. We've got the
Wow.
But they
Okay.
have a much bigger budget with a frame.
And for cost effectiveness, the CAO is the photographer. There we go.
All right. That's an interesting choice there. Oh. Yeah, if I may say, I'm actually older than Chief McLean. But, governance only works when people step up to the dedicated time. And governance only works when basically passionate people, like Barry, come forward and all of you. So I just want to acknowledge the chair's comments, former commissioner, that, your passion drove us to do better. And I think that's the most important legacy we can ever create, which is the desire to do better and move our forward. So, well, I appreciate it.
Put them all in the bag.
Look at that, all in the bag. What do you think is the best way to do this? All right, well, 3 years on the board was a pleasure. It's definitely a real learning experience and, big work with everybody here, and current and former members. And the board's in a good place and in good hands, so I just wish you all the best going forward. If you don't do a good job, I'll certainly be here and I'll tell you that.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you, Harry.
Thanks so much. All right.
Take care.
All right, thanks so much, and I'm going back to work.
Take care. Okay, now we need to ratify our in-camera discussions. So somebody have there it is right there. If someone would like to put that forward. Yeah, me. Commissioner Akindoju?
That the Board of Police Commissioner adopts the direction provided in camera.
Is there a seconder?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Giles. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. As a slow aye. That's motion carried. Thank you. Okay, business arising out of the minutes. There is none. Call for declaration of conflict of interest. Seeing none. We'll now move to consideration of deferred business. We have 7.1, an update on steps to achieve an integrated operating model from July 10th, 2023. And we'll offer the mic to Bill Moore, Executive Director of Community Safety.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, Commissioners. You find in your package the report as submitted. Just offer a few high-level comments, and if there's any questions, I'll certainly entertain those. I think most of the board members understand the Pricewaterhouse report was presented to council and subsequently referred to the Board of Police Commissioners. This report's a little bit tardy in coming. I apologize for that. One of the issues is that my previous role as project manager for that morphed into executive director of a new business unit. Got a little bit busy last year with some wildfires and some other things. So, but with that, I do direct the portion of the Price Waterhouse report that talks about the transformation roadmap. It's attached to this report. The Price Waterhouse report was quite beefy. I bring this forward just to make sure that that was included in the original package. If we look at the Price Waterhouse Cooper roadmap, it provides, I think, a good and vital and still valuable sequencing of next steps. There was a suggested timeline in the Price Waterhouse Cooper, which we're a little bit behind on the timeline. However, when I look at it, I think a lot of the pieces had been happening as we were moving along. So there were 6 key points in the document that are referenced in the report that I'll just talk about quickly on the updates. One of it was around the Transformation Management Office. So in the report, there was a suggestion to have a project management function created to move this forward. That was not a funded portion of the project in 23-24. But with the support of this commission, the recommendation is to use funding or the position of one of the HRP officers to actually provide a project management function to allow that movement forward. We've been moving things ahead with the good work of Josh and staff in my office and the like to move things ahead. As you'll see, the Gantt chart being produced by Kara in my office and the like. So I think we have a way forward for the project management office to be stood up and to provide some regular briefings on progress. The second piece I talked about was the integrated governance. I don't need to speak to this board. You know what you've been doing over the last little while. We've highlighted some of the work that the board has undertaken to create that more robust governance structure that Price Waterhouse referenced in their report. So I think the board is in a good position. And Commissioner Critchley was asking about the role of the board on a go-forward basis. And the report certainly does include the Board of Police Commissioners and the steering committee, as well as the Department of Justice as we move forward. So as I said, even without the project management office in place, the board has been moving ahead and moving things forward. In relation to integrated leadership, number 3, we've agreed with HRP, RCMP, and Community Safety to look at integrated leadership, starting strategic leadership meetings, and coming forward from that will be the creation of management groups, or I'll call them subcommittees, if you will, to look at the various pieces of the transformation. Some of the key pieces that came out of a working group meeting that we held on the 5th of April was the review of the basic MOU that underlies the integrated relationship, the joint reporting, a proposed joint reporting template, suggestion that there may be a broadened joint business plan, including those aspects of the community safety profile that the 3 HRP, RCMP, and community safety are working on together. So broadening out the existing HRP, RCMP to include another aspect on that. So, and then some looking at the bylaw P100. Number 4 was the creation of the community-led response capacity, or the community safety function, as Price Waterhouse referred to it at. In April of last year, the Community Safety Business Unit was created, and I'm the executive director of that. And over the last year, we've been successful in having, through Regional Council, the approval of the updated public safety strategy, the homelessness framework and some iterations thereof, and then also the Just Food Action Plan. And I would also say that working with HRP and the RCMP, both strategically with our trip to BC, looking at homelessness issues, but also operationally in the last operations on the encampment operations. I'm seeing very good cooperation, and I'm glad to say that community safety, HRP, and RCMP are starting to work collectively together now in a very good fashion. Number 5 is integrated service operations. That really points to the individual pieces that could become integrated or changed within the policing model. There's a list of some of the suggested pieces of work that could be done between the two agencies. There's been no decision on priority or those, but they're added in the report just as an example. And obviously, direction will be sought from the steering committee, including yourselves, on priority and those kind of things as we move forward. And the last part is change management. Pricewaterhouse spent a lot of time on methodology and requirements for successful change. There's also a piece of risk identification that they identified. And there was a risk identification process undertaken in April where those, again, were looked at. And those will be kind of rolled into the action plan development on how things are moved ahead. So as a high level, we are progressing. The Gantt chart provided in this was a first cut. We are going to go back and look at the dates. So please don't take those as being locked down in stone as going ahead. We just wanted to be able to get some of the pieces of work into a document so that as we get the project manager online and up and running, that we'll have at least the basis of a document to continue to build on. So with that, I'll end my comments and take any questions.
Thank you, Bill. Are there any questions from the commissioners? I'm seeing none from my fellow commissioners. I have one. Can you just help me understand a little bit more about, first of all, thank you for this, about the Transformation Management Office recommendation of the HRP officer. How did you land there?
I just want to make clear. So the original, if I'm going from memory, the original motion from the board was an FTE.
Yes.
So in brief conversations with the chief, rather than taking an HRP officer,
Yes.
what I'd like to do is look at the funding source and hire a project manager for a 2-year term period. So it wouldn't be a police officer, it would be somebody with a project management skill set that would be able to help usher and bring this along. And then at some point, that position would be returned back to HRP after year 3. And then that could be used as to hiring an officer at that point.
Okay.
Because it was a 3-year time mix. So that's the proposal that I put on, because there's been no other independent funding other than that for just to stand up. Pricewaterhouse had quite a deep costing model on how the TMO could be. So that was not actioned as part of the report. This is an alternative that I'm bringing forward now to be able to put basically a position in there to help augment and to continue. Now, at this point, I'm not foreseeing that might not have to be a full-time position. It could be a couple days a week to kind of have meetings, but I think there's a requirement to be able to create the action plan, monitor the action plan, and provide those regular updates to make sure that we have positive momentum moving forward on the aspects.
Okay, so in relation to that, I just want to make sure that our new member has a good sense of sort of how this is going. So the PricewaterhouseCoopers report came into council, was shared with a board. Council made a decision to adopt it and ask our CAO to do a report over 18 months of how do we get there, the devil in the detail kind of thing. And so they've been working steadily on it. We, as a board, because our services that we govern are the policing agents that are part of that transformation, we ask them periodically what's going on with this and is it going well? Are we meeting the timelines? Are our chiefs cooperating and collaborating and all that sort of thing? So that's what that's about. So that I'm giving you that so I can ask the next question. That kind of recommendation that you'd be making, is that going to be part of that report that goes to council and that's a decision for council to make, or is that a board decision that you're going to be asking us at some point?
I'm not sure. I'll be quite.
Because
I'm not sure if
allocation.
I would look to the solicitor or the CEO to say whether or not we need additional direction.
Okay.
I believe the motion was for the 2 FTEs.
Yes.
To be sent to community safety.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't
2 of the
reference
new ones that have just
correct.
been
Yes.
would be coming on stream.
It doesn't reference police officers. It's just FTEs.
Okay.
So my submission would be if we're able to would be to be able to move on that
Utilize that
relatively quickly.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to wait till November. I would like to move on that now that we that the funding has been approved by council. It is available. We just need to have a job description and move on that now. And then we would be able to have that individual in place, hopefully shortly, to be able to support and move these things to be able to provide that report in November back to council on the progress.
Thank you. CEO?
And to provide clarification, the authority to move positions, budget, or change structure from one HRM business unit, Halifax Regional Police, to another HRM business unit, Community Safety, is within the authority of the CAO.
Oh, good. So that's good. That allows for the process. Just again, for Commissioner O'Malley's sake, so when Acting Chief McLean came asking for an increase in his complement of FTEs to then allocate into the locations that he needs operationally, we asked that 2 of those be seconded or just, I guess, focused on the work that's happening around the public safety transformation and that piece. So that's what this one's about. It's related to the approval that we gave, approval with a caveat that they be 2 of them be dedicated to the public safety office. And this is how Bill's suggesting that it be utilized. Hope that is helpful. Yeah, okay. Commissioner Akindoju.
Thank you very much, Chair. Just for me to clearly understand the process, are we now acting on the report of PricewaterhouseCoopers, or are we at the stage of implementation? And if not, when are we, what's the time frame for the deliverable of this final report?
The report has been submitted. At this point, my understanding of the direction is that we are now implementing the working groups as outlined. My report basically has followed the directions or the suggestions of PricewaterhouseCoopers report, with the creation of the steering committee and then the joint leadership committee. Then we can start looking at priorities of what are going to be looked at first to move things ahead, and providing some feedback on those. I think, does that answer your question?
CAO as well would like to respond.
Thank you.
Yeah. So our timing is that this update is coming here to the Board of Police Commissioners in May. We'll also be updating council by the end of June. We do have a deliverable to provide an update to council. With respect to delivery of the actions that are in the policing transformation study, what we have conveyed to council through different conversations during, for instance, business plan and budget, is that we're moving, but we're also being mindful of the fact that we have to pace ourselves with the provincial policing review, which has just gotten started. So initially when that was announced, the provincial policing review was anticipating a conclusion by March 31st, 2025. I anticipate it's going to go beyond that because it has been delayed getting started. They've just engaged a consultant, and actually the first meeting of the Stakeholder Engagement Advisory Committee, which is co-chaired by Councillor Lyndall Smith, was today. So the work is really, really just commencing. So I would anticipate that what was originally a March 31st, 2025 deadline is probably going to slip to sometime within 6 months after that, would be my guess, because that's about how much the start has been delayed by. And I don't think we'll be able to conclude our report back on recommendations until after we see what comes out of that provincial review. But in the meantime, we know that there are actions we can take now through the policing transformation work that will improve delivery of policing within the municipality into a more integrated model.
Thank you very much. My ask will be, and I don't know what other board members would be asking around this, is when do we as board members have a critical knowledge of the details of this transformation? I would ask that we have in this process a couple of training or information session, so that at the end of the day, we are in collaboration with this process. We in the past we have so many other reports that we're dealing with, but there are too many of them and we are losing touch as board members. I think to be involved, not directly in the day-to-day, but through training and scheduling or lunch and learns and all this process will be very, very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Just before we move on any further, questions? No? Thank you very much, Bill. Keep up the great work. Appreciate that report. Moving on to correspondence, petitions, and delegations. Madam Clerk, was there any correspondence received?
Chair Kent, there was no correspondence received for this meeting.
Thank you. Any petitions, 8.2?
And no, no petitions was received by the clerk's office.
Thank you. And 8.3, there are no presentations scheduled. Information items brought forward, there are none. Under reports and discussion of staff, we have 10.1 Halifax Regional Police, Royal Canadian Mounted Police Chief updates. So we'll now start with Chief Superintendent Christie.
Good afternoon, Chair, through you to the room and folks online. My pleasure to be with you today and make some general comments about some of the tempo of operational policing over the last few weeks and months. Let me just start with some physical things. So first of all, some of you may travel out the shore and drive by Musquodoboit Detachment. We're partway through a renovation there, and the nature of that renovation has been scaled upwards and may now actually reflect upwards of a $2 to $3 million investment. So ideas and key points that have been prioritized now for the next 6-9 months with that building include a new generator, new perimeter fencing, new resurfacing, total redesign and renovation of the interior of the detachment. And that's in addition to a new garage and secure area that's already been built there. So that's a success story to see that kind of investment in that facility, which supports really a middle-sized detachment for us, office, supporting North Central and other areas. So that's a wonderful thing. At the same way, the board is certainly welcome to attend, but we have preliminary new scheduled meetings for town halls in Tantallon, Lower Sackville, and Fall River. And those dates are May 28th, May 29th, and May 30th. Being coordinated and led by Guy Tremblay of our communication section. That's also open to some of our colleagues who may wish to attend. And I know certainly some of us have attended some counselor meetings recently, but given the continued focus on community engagement and providing time with folks, and whether it's 5 people or 50 people, it's still a wonderful and genuine opportunity to be out. So we'll socialize those dates with a number of stakeholders, and we'll rely on folks to also sort of advertise or spread the word on that in case that's of interest. A couple other files that or points that may be of interest. First of all, my colleague will also make a motion that there's different events this month, but one of the events this month is Jewish Heritage Month. And so I just wanted to acknowledge that, starting given some of the tone and tenor in Canada right now and different parts of the world with anti-Semitic comments, that we're acknowledging that important historical month as well. You know, members today do different things, and it's not just about arresting people. Corporal Serge Landry is part of a group called Dreams Takes Flight, and recently helped chaperone upwards of 140 children to go down to Disney World for a few days. And what a wonderful event, and we're working to try and make sure Serge gets his recognition for that initiative. But the Community Action Response Team continues to do some great work across, from working with kids in schools to safety issues, to bomb threats, to working with events like this, which are, I think, noteworthy. At the same time, recently members came across some folks that were in medical emergency. And one of them, there was believing to be a diabetic, et cetera. And the male had passed out, and members actually made an icing sugar paste and assisted with EHS with an IV until that member was stabilized and received life-saving care. So it's not something that we train for every day. And there's an example of 2 members that recently provide CPR, and through, again, the care of the emergency health services and the members, that life was saved. All too often, though, we also read the bulletins between that kind of effort not being successful. So, of course, we think of the members, we think of their families, we think of everybody that steps out to assist others. Operationally, there were 2 files of concern. One was near a school in Kingswood Elementary. One was in a different school in Porters Lake Elementary, and both had some graffiti that has been determined to be kind of race-based hate commentary. And so the community action response team and members have been working with that staff and the community to make sure any follow-up that we can do to provide us support a safe environment is 100% committed to. At the same time, there was a wonderful event that some of you may have been at, in fact, on April 24th at Tantallon, and that was Summit Academy hosted a local Heroes Day to do with the wildfires. I believe His Worship was there, and a number of fire folks and GSAR folks and so on and so forth. So just while I wasn't able to be there personally, we're also getting geared up internally, coming up to the 1-year anniversary of the wildfires in Tantallon, to make sure some of our stakeholders and internal folks get a challenge going that celebrates the heroic actions of so many. It remains a terrible loss of property, heartbreaking loss, but to the testament and resilience of the leadership of the community and those persons affected, there's some growth and rebounding. But it's also, I think, important to remember as we approach that anniversary, there was miraculously no loss of life. And I think that's something we need to continue to keep in mind. Operationally, I know my colleague Chief McLean will be speaking about fatality, but we've been engaged as well, supporting that investigation as we continue. We had a robbery also out in French Village Station Road in Upper Tantallon. Suspects were taken into custody. It was a significant and very sad motor vehicle accident fatality out near Peggy's Cove. And we want to make sure some of the nature of that also get referred and shared into HRM in case there's any engineering, not that there's any reason to believe that the nature of the road is in any way contributory. But it is a remote part of the community. We want to make sure we also share along with that. Subject to any questions, Chair, that would be my update. And we look forward, we understand perhaps yourself and the CAO are meeting some senior dignitaries from the RCMP next week. So we're poised to assist with that as well. So
Terrific, thank you. Are there any questions or comments? The only thing I would add is that appreciate you socializing the dates and the locations for your meetings. I'd encourage all our members of the commissioners, if you can find the time to attend any of those. Of course, they're part of our strategic priority pillars is community engagement. So if you can participate, if you could just let me know, that way we can sort of keep track. If each one of us took the time to go, then it's a great learning opportunity for all of us in real time. Thank you.
Chair, would you like me to make brief comments on that document that we created and provided to you and the board, or is that elsewhere in the agenda?
Maybe that would be when Josh comes up
Okay.
with her. Thanks. Chief McLean.
Good afternoon, everyone. Chair Kent, members of the board, everyone else is joining us today. I'd like to welcome Commissioner O'Malley to the board. You mentioned your youngest is 20. My youngest turned 28 yesterday, so I'm not sure what that really makes me in the grand scheme of all things. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. Well, there you go. I walked into that one. So, from a major investigation perspective, I first like to give my sincere condolences to the family, friends, and certainly the community of Ahmed Maher al-Marak, who, as I'm sure you all know, was murdered last week. Through the course of investigation, we have charged 3 young people in relation to that murder. We've certainly been very engaged with the community and, trying to, assuage their concerns and fears as best that we can. But certainly, my thoughts go to everyone that were affected by that tragedy. Also, you probably are aware as well that we issued our first emergency alert yesterday from HRP in relation to a potentially armed and dangerous individual in the Dartmouth area. That matter remains under investigation, but what I can say is for the first alert from a process perspective, actually went as it should through the training and the decision-making tree, and that it went well from that perspective. From a recruitment and promotion perspective, last month we had, well, actually, I guess this month, we had 2 promotions. Oh, I guess it is last month. It's now May, isn't it? Yeah. We had 2 promotions last month. Last week, I was able to promote Roger Spriggs, a longtime K-9 member, to the rank of sergeant. Wish him all the best. And as well, this week, I promoted Inspector Stephanie Johnson to the rank of superintendent. And she'll be taking over the portfolio of administration. And again, we wish her all the best in her work, and I'm sure she'll do excellent. We continue to recruit through our experienced officer portal. HRM has been very helpful in our marketing campaign strategies going forward. We're seeing very good results from that. I was actually supposed to do a video yesterday on the waterfront, but it was a little too windy for me. And so we'll do that next week. And I actually had the opportunity to swear an experienced police officer from the military actually last week as well. And so we look forward to that. As we often speak about from the firearms perspective, we've to date seized 128 firearms. None have been used in relation to a homicide this year, but we have had 4 shooting incidents, and that obviously remains an area of focus and concern for us. From a traffic perspective, for the months of March and April, we issued just over 1,660 SOTs for a variety of reasons. Interestingly enough, 120 of those were for distracted driving. So we obviously tell people to stay off your phones and when you're driving. 48 impaired operation charges over the last 2 months, with 18 roadside suspensions as well. And this month, in relation to as the weather gets better, this month the traffic theme is around motorcycle safety. So we encourage everyone who's riding a motorcycle, those sharing the road with motorcycles, to be aware of them and to make sure everything is safely as we go along from that. From a community perspective, in April we celebrated both Volunteer Appreciation Week and National Public Safety Telecommuters Week. My thanks obviously to everyone at Halifax Regional Police who volunteers their time and contributes to our organization, and certainly to those in the public safety telecommunications work that their field. Without them, they're vitally important to the success of our operation, and to our own members and like those of the Employee Assistance Program or those of our recruiting ambassadors who volunteer their time. My sincere thanks for all that you do. I also like to note that I had the opportunity on March 20th, along with Deputy Chief McCombs and some other members of my team, to accept a gracious invitation from Imam Yusri at the Ummah Mosque to attend an iftar dinner to celebrate the breaking of the fast for Ramadan. I didn't realize I had to give impromptu remarks. That came as a bit of a surprise, but it was an extremely great event. And again, I want to thank Imam Yusri and his team for their graciousness and their generosity in hosting us for that particular evening. If you ever get a chance to go to an iftar dinner, I will tell you it is truly a marathon and not a sprint. Start slow. Start slow. The food keeps coming. Jeff already noted that this is Canadian Jewish Heritage Month, as well as also Asian Heritage Month, and we'd like to acknowledge both of those communities and the vital importance they play in the fabric of our society. Of note, actually, I'll be attending a Holocaust remembrance ceremony on Sunday in relation at the Pier 21 in relation to commemorating the Holocaust. And this month also is National Police Week, is May 12th to the 18th. This began in 1970 as a way of celebrating police and having them connected with the communities. We will be planning a police day again. It will be on May 11th at the Micmac Mall. So if you're around, feel free to drop in. I believe that's also the day I get to toss a coin for the Halifax Wanderers Football Club as their first responders match in terms of on that particular day as well. And last but not least, and I say this with all sincerity, this will be the last meeting that Deputy Chief McCombs will be attending. As you are probably aware, most of you, I brought Deputy McCombs back from retirement late last year to help me in the transition period. But we always knew it had a short shelf life to it. I want to make sure that he stays in good graces with his wife. So he will be re-retiring again at the middle of this month. And I just want to thank him personally for everything that he's done over the last few months. His work and knowledge, experience, and wisdom has been invaluable. I think through some of our successes over that period of time. But I also like to say that he's not going to disappear completely. I still expect him to be around in certain capacities, helping us out and helping out the solicitor as we do some bargaining going into the future. So anyway, I just want to give the opportunity to say thanks, ladies. And that concludes my remarks.
Thank you. And on behalf of the board as well, thank you, Chief Superintendent McCombs. It's important that we continue to acknowledge the reality that police officers never really stop being police officers. And these are a perfect example of the contribution to policing that our Halifax benefits from. Are there any questions for Chief McLean? Yes, Commissioner Blackburn.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and thank you so much for the update. I was just curious as to whether or not HRP has been engaging with the local universities, just given the protest atmosphere that is spreading across the country. Just wondering if that is a concern that has been brought to your attention, or whether that is something that the universities have reached out to you about.
Yeah, no, it's certainly something that's on our radar. Certainly, I meet every 2 weeks with the police leadership across the country, and we talk about issues related to protests and particularly those that are connected to the tensions in the Middle East. Certainly, I actually had the occasion to speak with the security lead from Dalhousie this week, actually, in terms of, and as up to this date, there have been no specific issues that we need to be, concerned with. But it's obviously something that we will continue to stay engaged with, because obviously, there is it's an issue that requires attention.
Yep.
And as well, obviously, and it's probably a testament actually to the work that my officers have done, that we address and deal with protests related to that every week in the city, that for the most part don't make it to the attention of most folks, simply because I think it's been handled in a pretty good and effective manner. I know certainly there was an event a few weeks ago. I was actually out of the country at the time when they had the national day of that protest, and that there were arrests that came out of that specifically. But I think that was not so much the local folks that were, but that was much more of a national initiative that was intended to disrupt and do those similar type things within cities across the nation. But certainly, it's something that obviously we're very attuned to.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Giles.
Thank you. Thanks, Chief. And this is as much to Chief Superintendent Christie as it is to you. There are many of us who believe that our society is becoming more and more the type of place which eschews truth and thrives, or at least communicates, on spin. And I think that's probably particularly so with respect to policing, and perhaps as well with respect to police governance. And I know that much of what we do takes place against the backdrop of a variety of things: Police Transformational Study, Mass Casualty Commission, Wortley, defund, public safety strategy, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I know as well that there is a sector of society that seems to think legitimately that there's probably a better way of doing policing, and police should be curtailed, budgets should be cut, resources should be redeployed, et cetera, et cetera. That's also something which acts as a backdrop for what we all do. But When I was in Quinpool Road last week, stuck in traffic commuting home, I saw police car after police car after police car at high speed heading west. And I learned later that they were heading to the Halifax Shopping Center where that unfortunate event, which you detailed for us a moment ago, was taking place, or had in fact taken place. And I knew intuitively that something important was taking place, and that people who were vested with the responsibility to protect the public were putting themselves in harm's way to do just that. And of course, we got another taste of it yesterday. I was in court cross-examining a witness when the alarm went off. And we knew again that somebody was doing something which was really important for public safety, and that the system was working the way it was intended to work. And it's wonderful to get the updates from you, Chief, and from Chief Superintendent Christie, because it demonstrates to the public, I think, that we can all have confidence in what's going on the ground and what's going on in police leadership. And as Colonel Jessup said in A Few Good Men, you want me on that wall. You need me on that wall. Now, that having been said, I am just one of the commissioners, and I just happen to be the vice chair, but I do get calls at home. One of which came last week after the unfortunate events at the Halifax Shopping Center, wanting to know what you people, I don't react well to you people, but wanting to know what you people, meaning this group, was going to do about the Young Offenders Act. And I said, well, you mean the Youth Criminal Justice Act? And then we engaged in a little bit of a discussion before I said to the caller, look, why don't you give me your number? I'll think about it a little bit and I'll call you back, I hope, when you're having your supper. Well, he didn't want me to do that. And I said, well, now you know how I feel. But I do get calls about what's going on the streets with respect to traffic. And I think it's great to know that 1,600 SOTs were given out in April. But I sit at Tim's at Beach Street every day at 5 o'clock in the morning, watching the cars going to and fro at highway speeds. And I understand from some callers to me that the new thing is to stop at the red light, regardless of where it is and the time of day. And if the coast is clear, just go through it. And I think that people are getting a little bit concerned about what's going on with traffic. I think they feel confident that in terms of the big picture, they're well protected. But I urge that maybe we start to spend a little bit of concentration on that issue as well. And maybe 1,600 SOTs should be 3,200 or 5,200. Thanks so much.
Okay, thank you both chiefs. Now moving on to 10.2.1, the 2024 Wortley Report Progress Update, Summary of Recommendations. I'll start with you, Chief McLean.
Yes, so to the chair, we've, myself and Chief Superintendent Christie have submitted the report with the updates that are highlighted within the report for ease of use. I think it would, rather than go through each one individually, I think certainly that would probably be time consuming and certainly, but if there are any questions that any commissioners have or anything that Jeff would like to add to this discussion in terms of, certainly, I think it's probably the best manner in which we could deal with this.
Chief Christie.
Chair, through you, and thanks to my colleague, Chief McLean, there's just a ton of work happening. Some of you have met with some of our folks that are down from national looking at race-based data collection and how can we process that. Some of the HRP experts have been looking at how we can de-identify street check data, and there's more information to come in a future report. So I think echoing Chief McLean's words, there's a very accurate synopsis of, to the point already within the update. So I'll defer to any questions, but there is regular meetings and a whole bunch of different technical conversations happening. all consistent with the spirit and the direction of the Worley report.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions from commissioners on this? No, everyone's received the report. Okay. Moving right along. I have 10.2.2, Board of Police Commissioners 2023-24 Annual Report for submission to Regional Council. There is a motion that can be put forward. We will ask that Josh Bates, our staff policy advisor, were you going to offer a presentation, Josh, or would you just like us to go forward with the motion?
I can briefly speak to
Just
the
a brief
report,
one,
if you
yeah.
like.
Thank
Sure.
you.
Okay, so this report, of course, is produced in accordance with bylaw P100, which requires the board to provide to council by June 1st of each year, report outlining its achievements in the previous year and an overview of its work plan over the coming year. So just high level, some of the achievements outlined in the report include lots of budget-related work, including adopting a revised budget schedule, receiving public feedback, and of course, recommending budgets to council. Appointing an independent civilian review to examine some governance-related issues related to the events of August 18th, 2021. Ongoing work related to police response to mental health calls, which is reflected in the board's work plan as well. Receiving reports related to the Mass Casualty Commission and Police Transformation Study and beginning to look at areas of alignment in those reports and other reports as well. And ongoing board modernization, including adopting distinct procedures for the board and beginning to revise some policies in the policy manual. In terms of the work plan itself, those of you who were here might recall that we actually adopted a work plan back in December. And the actions under that work plan all fall under 4 pillars. So developing the board's capacity, engagement with the community, adapting to growth, and evolving how we work with stakeholders. So the version attached to the report today reflects changes that have taken place between then and year end. And that is to get us back on schedule of approving a work plan at the beginning of each fiscal year. So with that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions of clarification for Josh? If you could turn your mic off, Josh, it's a little, thank you. Hearing none, seeing none, sorry, I should say, or hearing none as well.
Chair, I'm just sharing the screen for the motion.
The motion, thank you. Someone like to move that?
Move.
Would you read it, please?
That the Board of Police Commissioners for Halifax Regional Municipality forward the report dated April 18th, 2024 to Regional Council for information. So
Thank
moved.
you. Is there a seconder?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Blackburn. Thank you. Any debate on that? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion is carried. Thank you for your work on that, Josh. Greatly appreciate it. We have no further in camera. Any notices of motion? No, seeing none. Our next meeting is June 5th, 2024. And before we adjourn, I just want to acknowledge that we have a former and retired RCMP officer in the gallery today, Peter Sonicson. Thank you for your service, sir. And thank you for attending this very exciting and insightful meeting of the Board of Police Commissioners. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Meeting adjourned.